49ers signed two cornerbacks today, Jason Verrett and Dontae Johnson. Both are 28 years old. Both played for the 49ers last season, but they're different. Johnson's a journeyman. This is his third stint on the 49ers. He's been on a bunch of teams. Trent Baalke took him, the Niners' previous general manager, with a fourth-round pick. He was never supposed to be a quality starter, and he's not. He's a journeyman special teams guy at best. He's the kind of guy you bring in for training camp, OTAs if they exist, which they may not this year. Will he make the 49ers 53-man roster? Maybe. Will he play? Not if things go according to plan. Not on defense. Jason Verrett is a whole different story. Jason Verrett was a first-round pick. He only ever played for the Chargers. When he was healthy, he was fantastic, but he hasn't been healthy hardly ever. The Chargers finally let him go. Niners picked him up last year and had high hopes for him. They were thinking he might start opposite Richard Sherman. That kind of a talent. But he was coming off an Achilles tear. He re-injured himself in training camp, missed most of training camp, never really got back into playing shape. And young cornerback Ahkello Witherspoon played fantastically in training camp. Arguably better than Richard Sherman. I'm talking about August and through preseason. So Verrett was hurt. Witherspoon was young and playing well. Witherspoon started the first couple of games of the season and was fantastic. I mean, all the corners were behind that elite pass rush. But third game of the season against the Steelers, Witherspoon injures his foot, leaves the game early, and the first corner off the bench to replace him was Jason Verrett. Again, this is a guy who was a stud just a few years ago. So what do the Steelers do? If you remember that game, they were playing with their backup quarterback, Mason Rudolph, and their offensive coordinator was calling a scared game. He was coaching scared, is what I would call it. He wasn't really calling any downfield throws. He was structuring his offense in a way that made it seem like he was terrified of the 49ers pass rush and didn't really trust his quarterback. Anyway, Verrett comes in, and all of a sudden, that play caller for the Steelers gets real courageous and calls back-to-back deep throws to Jason Verrett. He gets burned both times and gets instantly benched. That's the last time you saw Verrett with the 49ers. I thought that was going to be the last time we saw Verrett in the NFL, but this is an interesting move. What it shows is a couple of things. One, they're not ready to give up on such a talented cornerback who's only 28. Clearly last year, I mean, he hasn't played in years, but last year when he missed training camp, the odds of him getting into football shape and playing at the level he played a few years ago was slim to none, and none came true. But this year, it's like he gets one more chance, even if it's a long shot, to play in training camp, work himself back slowly, and see if he can make some type of an impact on the field. The odds are against it, but it's interesting that they would try out this Hail Mary. And I think the other thing it indicates, along with the signing of Dontae Johnson, is the Niners really have a huge need at cornerback. I would call it the biggest need on the team. Some people think they need a defensive tackle to replace DeForest Buckner, sure, or an offensive lineman to bolster the interior, or potentially replace Joe Staley, or a wide receiver. I could see that. But at cornerback, Ahkello Witherspoon got benched last year, really played poorly for most of the season, except the first 3 games. Can't count on him. Plus, he's a free agent in 2021. Jason Verrett, injured all the time. Richard Sherman, old, will be a free agent in 2021. Emmanuel Mosley, undrafted free agent, played well at times. Backup DJ Reed, hasn't shown anything. The Niners really need cornerbacks, and maybe Jason Verrett will be the guy they need. Or maybe these two moves indicate that the Niners aren't done looking for corners. That's what I would bet on.